Hey guys, Ed here with How to Draw Comics, and this is my first time going live. Well, by myself, right? So let's see how this rolls. Um, I'm kind of a little bit intimidated. I don't know. We'll see. Mainly, what I'm going to be doing is some drawovers for the group. So what I'm hoping is that people will post up art, and I get to draw over it. Right now, this is with an anatomy direction. Yeah, let's say that. I'm looking to post it, or rather to help people with their anatomy drawovers and stuff, right? So like if you've got something you're a little wonky on, you're not quite sure of how the pose is looking or something like that, or you're a little confused, send me the drawings, okay? So I'm going to be monitoring most of the drawings in the How to Draw Comics Facebook group. So yeah, my mustache is looking pretty badass. Okay, so like the reason I got the mustache now is because I got on with the fire department and they won't let me have my beard. And then I decided to do the mustache because it pisses off my kid, right? So I thought, what the heck? I'll do the mustache thing, right? I'm just kind of sharing this to a few extra groups here. Yeah. No, Albertosaurus. I'd prefer it if you shared them on Facebook. That's the one I'm monitoring right now. That in the howtodrawcomics.net. Yeah, it's the Facebook group that I'm monitoring, right? So like that would help me tons if you do it that way. Okay, guys. Yeah. Let's see how this rolls. See if I get some drawings right now. I'm going to share my screen a little bit. So that, hey, Rob Arnold. Yes, I am the read the rules dude, man. Let's see. I'll throw up what I'm working on right now. Kind of do a bit of a split screen. There we go. Less of me, more of the art, right? Actually, this is for a course that I'm working on right now. Let's see if I can flip it around. Teaching people how to use household objects and creating cool spacecrafts out of it, right? So until somebody starts posting up art, I'll just talk and see if anybody can, I don't know, give me something good to draw on, right? Yeah, let's see. Starts posting up art, I'll just talk. There we go. Okay, I'm just monitoring this off to the side. Yeah, it'd help if you guys put this on Facebook. Like I said, any of the anatomy stuff you want me to go over and everything, right? This is weird without somebody else talking to me, right? I'm so used to having a podcast with more than one person. I've got to go for a shift tonight, so I'm hoping to do this every so often, just coming in, having some fun, hopefully getting some comments and chatting with people and stuff, and then maybe talk about some anatomy and some comic book stuff, right? Until then, what I want to show you is, like I said, what I did here was I'm making this course. So you can see I kind of took some household stuff. Here were a couple scissors that I kind of jammed together, right? Moved them over into kind of a racer spacecraft, right? And then colored it up. Ended up looking kind of cool, right? Next one was, anybody know what this thing is? It is a handheld massager, right? For getting that deep tissue work and stuff, right? Yeah, it can get pretty powerful. Anyways, something I had lying around, thought it would make kind of a cool space station with ships coming into the different ports and stuff like that, right? Still with some engine room and some communications array and everything, right? And then it ended up looking kind of cool. You can see the ships, entering and stuff as it kind of moves on through space, right? Last one that I did here was can opener. Nothing snazzy, right? I kind of messed up on it. I think down here it ended up looking kind of cool, right? With the wings and the split and everything like that. But what I wanted this, I was originally thinking of this as like a shuttle launcher type of thing, like a fighter launcher. It just didn't really have the effect that I wanted it to. But in color, it ended up looking cool anyways, right? So what I'm going to do is open up a new one. Looks about good to me. Kind of a comic template, and see if some people are, yeah, the massage gun. See if some people are going to send me some art to draw over here and stuff. I've got nothing so far. Maybe I should scan the group and see if there's something that I can at least work on until somebody feeds me something, right? Kind of looking on through the group here. I'm hopefully looking at something that somebody messed up on. It'd probably be one of my posts, right? See if there's some glaring errors that I can see in somebody's anatomy here. Okay, so I'm going to grab this one by Victor. Let's see, and I'll grab it and drag it down. He's not asking for this, and he's probably not even watching this. But until somebody starts feeding me some stuff to do, I'll just randomly start grabbing stuff, right? Oh, and I'm just going to say I'm live. There we go. Okay. So yeah, sorry guys, it's kind of a one-man show, so I'll be jumping all over trying to ask or answer questions, right? Post up anatomy pics for me to draw, right? Okay. Let's see. I'm looking at this picture, and I can't even remember the dude's name now, right? I'm going to do a little bit of a draw over just because there's some things that I want to talk about here. Actually, there's a lot of good things going on, but there's a lot of weird things going on too, right? I'll do it in blue just to kind of start things off a little bit, right? One thing that I want to talk about is this area right here. This is getting really funky because we've got his hips here, right? And, the crotch is about here. And then this leg is coming out to the knee, and this leg is coming down to the knee. And the way that he's drawn it, this isn't really an anatomy thing. This is kind of just a life issue thing that you get this weird overlap and tangents, right? So if I was him, I really would have punched this a lot harder to show how much different this is, or, change something around, because right now it looked weird that, as soon as I did that line, wow, all of a sudden, that's making a lot more sense now, right? Like it punches. If we back out and stuff, we can see that that's a separate leg, right? The way he originally had it, there was a lot of weird overlapping, and it just wasn't looking so great, right? Hey, Mark, Rob. Okay, I'll grab it from the private message and grab a piece. The other thing that I want to talk about is the shoulder and arms here. So what's happening with this is he's got his hand pronated, which means the palm down, right? And usually what's going to happen is the bicep is going to follow that. So he hasn't really defined it. Like he's got his chest coming up here, the deltoid coming up here and stuff. And this is why I grabbed it actually. And so it looks like the bicep is coming this way, right? But in actuality, the bicep really wouldn't be rolling that high if the thumb is more in line like this. So what I would do, see if this makes any sense. The bicep should follow that thumb. So what might happen instead would be, it might look something along these lines, that the delt would come here, the bicep midline would kind of follow here, the tricep might come, let me clean this up a little bit more. The bicep midline would be here, that would be the bicep here, the tricep would be on this side, and the tricep would be on this side, coming to the elbow and then out to the forearm and stuff. So I guess the main issue that I'm saying here is, like, as you, let's see if I can rotate this a little bit. As you start to rotate, you're going to find, like, your bicep is generally going to follow your thumb unless there's a large turn here, right? And naturally, we kind of just run like this, and we keep things kind of in line, right? So that's all I'm looking for is I want to line this thumb, the center following the forearm, to the center following the bicep and stuff, right? Other than that, those were the two main issues. Can't say I necessarily love the face looking straight at us and stuff like that, right? Think about it. Where's the focus? Ball's right here, right? And I don't know, this whole step, the scene isn't really making a lot of sense to me right now, that he's kind of stepping over the ball, right? Like this ball looks kind of in line here. Where's the kick going to be? If this foot then plants next, it's going to be behind maybe, or something like that. Maybe he's looking downfield. I don't know. I think I might have drawn it with a little bit more focus on the ball, right? Anyways, that was just a random grab from the group. Let's see what Rob has sent me here. See if I can find a cool photo. Ah, yeah, that'll work. Okay, and like I said, I'm talking about anatomy here. So that's going to be my focus. So when I'm looking at these photos and stuff, I'm going to be either saying, it's good or bad. I'm liking it, I'm not, based on the anatomy, right? Looking at this picture here, what do I think? Structurally, it's actually not bad. The person behind is actually quite good. I really like the drawing of the person behind. I'm kind of gonna see if I can maybe fade this out just a little bit. I'll do this. Just so I can kind of draw on top of it there. That'll work better. Okay, so structurally, I think there's a lot of good things going on. The character behind has itself placed right. The shoulders coming out to the arm, coming back here, it's coming forward. It all kind of makes sense, right? Like, I like what's going on there. The only thing I don't like, if I'm going to back this up, and sometimes this can happen, is, this character's torso is here, right? This is where the torso's at, right? Collarbone is here, shoulders are raised, all that's okay, right? But it's a man. As far as I can tell, this is a man, right? And so I'm kind of looking at where the pec would go. The pec would lift up, maybe the pec's even this. Like, I'm trying to look through the clothing here a little bit and see where the pecs would be, right? So the pec would be something along these lines, right? And then coming up to this, right? That looks roughly right. Here's maybe the rib cage or something, right? And so if I had an underdrawing here of the structure, the muscular structure, I could even drop the pecs down if I really wanted to, down to about here, right? If I'm looking at the underlying structure, I'm kind of wondering what the heck this is. To be frank, the way that the rendering, the structure is not bad. I think it's a little bit funny with the fabric and stuff, but fabric can look kind of off at times, right? I think that what really bothers me is this thing. This is reading like a boob, and this could be reading like another boob or something. And so, hey, I don't know if that's character with beards and boobs. Very possible, like that could be. But I'd be kind of surprised. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of going with the assumption that it's a dude. And so the structure is relatively fine, like the skeletal structure on it. But sometimes, even if we start with that, the rendering can get a little hinky, right? And I think that's what happened here, is the rendering plus the fabric and stuff gave the illusion of this bearded guy having some boobs. So I don't know. That would be my kind of critique on it. I would say, watch out for that. Other than that, let's see, even if I kind of go back to this, this seems a little short for how thin this is. Like, if this is that short and, like, actually it's supposed to be coming towards us, right? Then I would have beefed up this forearm. Not that he's got beefy forearms, he's still a skinny dude, but to give the feeling that it's come that much closer to us, because this isn't really a great distance, right? Let's see if I do it in red. Measurements. This isn't really that huge of a difference. If I take that, put it over here, it's actually a little narrower than this side, right? So that means that he doesn't have a short arm, it's coming towards us. But to have that impact, then what I would have done is started to beef this part up, And then that now gives the feeling like, oh yeah, this is definitely coming towards us and stuff, right? Something like that, right? That would have beefed it up enough to make it look like it's jumping towards us. So Rob, that's my feeling on this piece. Like I said, I'm focused on body and anatomy for this this session here. I think, I don't know if the facial hair is looking a little Wolfman-ish, but whatever. Everybody's got a different beard and stuff, right? So on this piece, I'd worry about the moobs and how thin this arm is. Not just the arm, but the clothing and stuff like that. That it should be reading much thicker for being that much closer to us and stuff, right? Oh, Rob's saying it's a dude. Okay, so yeah, if it's a dude, then the rendering around the chest area, not loving it. Hey, Alex the Great, you can send them in on the Facebook group, the How to Draw Comics Facebook group. Okay, I know you're watching it on YouTube. I'm sorry, guys. It's only me here. Clayton, he's got another shrimp on the barbie, and so it's only me doing it. I'm kind of just monitoring the Facebook group right now. I don't think I can juggle YouTube, Facebook, although I'm streaming on all of them. I'm just looking for the comments just on Facebook. Okay. Yeah, Jim, I'd love it if you post up some of your pictures and stuff like that, right? Any of the guys watching it on the How to Draw Comics group, that's what I'm here for. I'm just here to do a little bit of a draw over for anatomy. Yeah, an anatomy draw over. That's my focus today. And honestly, this is my first time going live by myself. So I wanted to see kind of, what this is all about, if I could handle it, if I could pull an entire show, pull a Joe Rogan, right? Just no guess. I'll just go on a. Oh no, that's Alex. What's an InfoWars guy? He can rant all by himself. He doesn't need a guest, right? So I don't know if I could rant all by myself, right? Rob, I don't even know what I just said, man. I'm so rambling that I got no clue. Yeah, guys, let's see. I've done a couple drawovers here just to review. The first one was the soccer, and he needed to just define the leg. I might have chose a different pose for it, but if he's sticking with this pose, define the leg, maybe define the arm just a little bit more, especially in relation to how things are being pushed out here, okay? I also would have changed the focus and put the focus on the face. Like the face looking down on either the ball or whatever, right? For this one that I reviewed here, watching out for the moobs. That's a rendering issue. I don't think it's a structural issue, but also watching out for the foreshortening of the elbow. If it's coming that much forward to us and it's that shortened on this side, well, this is going to show that size to it, right? So make sure we got that in there, right? Let's see. Mark is encouraging people. Yeah, I know. My shrimp on the Barbie accent. Good day, mate. I'm Clayton from How to Draw HTDC. I can't even do an invitation, man. I'm messing this up. All right, let's see. Clayton's gonna kill me. I'm actually, yeah. I'm abusing this privilege I have to access. So I'm scrolling through the group, trying to see if I can find any things with some outstanding anatomy issues. And today, you guys are all posting like good stuff, man. Usually, almost any day, I can grab something and say, but today I'm digging it. Everything's looking pretty darn decent. Worst case, I'll just look at some of my stuff and tear it apart. Let's see. I'm still scrolling, still rolling. And hey, listen, if I'm giving critiques, no offense there at all, right? Like, you guys, if you're posting up in our group, then you should know that Alexander, sorry, you can send it in private message to me if you like, but there's a live stream going on in the Facebook group right now that you can post it on in there if you want, okay? Here's one that's a maybe. Yeah, I'm going to toss this in here. This is from Alan Sharp. And actually, if I look, I remember Alan had a few things. that he was struggling with in the past. So I'm kind of gonna go into there, right? Yeah, Alan might get a couple drawovers here today. Oh, Clayton's giving me advice here. I can turn off that banner on the top. Do I have a banner on the top? I'm not even looking at what I'm doing here. I don't know. Is that banner in the way? Oh, yeah, I can. Okay. Hold on. How does Clayton say to turn that shit off? Side panel under brand. Oh. Okay, I just turned that off. Thanks, Clayton. See, this is how new I am to this stuff, right? Okay, so if nobody's posting this up yet, I'm just going to kind of roll through some of this. I'm going down the group and saying, like seeing if there's anything. And of course, the posts that are coming up for me are like Pat O'Donnell and Vince Rodriguez that are like posting awesome stuff, right? Oh, I can make pop up on the screen. Let's see, private chat, banners. Oh, I'm not seeing that. Anyways. Oh, okay. So there's something posted up that I can check on Facebook here, but I'm still scrolling for a minute here just to see if I can find anything that really jumps out at me that needs an anatomy look over and stuff, right? So I'll get back to the Facebook feed in a minute here. Like I said, here's another one. Okay, perfect. This is from Alex. And I think then I'll pop back up to the feed. I'm doing much better than Clayton. I don't know. This is actually hard to do on your own. Like, it's tougher than I expected. Somebody said they posted a picture up in the feed, but I'm not seeing it right now. So let me see if I can. It's tougher than I expected. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not seeing any picture posted in the feed so far. Jim's saying he posted up something like a picture a minute ago. So let's see if I can find that. Jim, why don't you message that to me then? I'm not seeing it anywhere. Send it to me in a message, and then we'll see if I can grab it that way. Sound cool? Okay, until Jim sends me something, or until I start seeing more art popping up here, I'm going to start doing this little bit of a draw over here. Okay. Let's see. Well, Jim says it's on the main page. Let's see if I can find. Because I'd rather do something for somebody that's actually watching right now than just these random ones, right? So let's see if I can scroll down and find Jim's. That's the thing about Facebook. Even though we have the feed and stuff like that, it doesn't feed it in the order that you would assume it would, like most recently posted and stuff like that. So I'm scrolling through our group feed and not seeing it at all. Jim, send it to me, man. Okay. Oh, yeah, I think he just did. Thanks. That's easier. Like either put it in our group or put it in a message to us and stuff, right? Oh, okay, cool. I got the one from Jim. Hey, this is looking pretty sharp. Okay, I'm going to roll with this one because seems to be somebody's actually listening to me and paying attention. I might as well give them some love, right? Okay, so this is Jim Tessier, right? Let's see. How would I approach this? What do I see? Usually what I do when I first look at a piece is I go in and break down the skeletal structure, right? Like I'm looking at it and saying, okay, well, where's the rib cage, right? How's the flow? Where's the hips? And then how does everything go off of there? Right away, I can see a problem. Like the shoulders are almost non-existent, right? Like even if I hide this, I'm trying to look right now for where are the shoulders, right? Like they're it kind of comes up here and then it's kind of here and kind of here. Like, I know that they're kind of hidden, but geez, they're really tiny there, especially for Power Girl, right? My thinking is that, yeah, you know, when somebody's standing like that, I don't know if you guys can see me very well, but you know, they would be jutting their arms out, so these shoulders would be extended, right? You know, there would be a really good extension on these shoulders and stuff like that. So it might be tightened in, but then, you know, there'd be this whole trap thing bunching up and everything like that. So, you know, the arms might be bent and stuff like that, but as her arms are extended, you know, the shoulders would extend and stuff too. So that would be my first looking at it here, is that I would actually be putting the shoulders out. You know, I would have this coming out more, have the shoulders go out. Here's the collarbone, that type of thing. And then everything else kind of juts out from that point a lot more, right? So just think of, you know, how it's all set up and everything. That's, hey, George, you know, is it crunched up? And if so, if, you know, the scapula, the shoulder blades, everything's retracted and everything like that, that means the traps are going to be all bunched up and everything like that, right? And this is the beginning of the push, like she's pushing through what are we looking at? A big metal gate door or something like that, right? So there's this, but as soon as she's extended, everything extends then. That scapula extends, the shoulders extend, everything's being pushed out and stuff, right? So something to think about that. That's the first thing I would notice. Second thing I'm looking at here is kind of the same thing that I talked about in the previous piece. Was, here's a thumb, right? So if the thumb's down, in this case, the thumb's kind of neutral, then the bicep is roughly going to follow that. You know, that bicep is going to roughly follow it. Okay, so on here, the thumb's up a little bit. So, you know, that center line, we can follow it, and it's going to kind of follow this way, right? This one's down, so that it's going to kind of follow here. So then the tricep would come on this side and would come down this way. It depends on how the hand's rotated necessarily, right? On this one, maybe the tricep might be underneath more, a little bit visible on here, right? Okay. So let's see, anything else that I would really look at in this piece? The delts, I would extend the delts, Jim. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments here. Robert, finished or practice, it doesn't really matter. You know, send it either way. Jim sent me some more here that where the original reference came from. So let's take a look at that one and just see what I think of it. Yeah, and you know what? Two things that are happening in this one that we see that part of the problem is in what Jim was trying to do there, right? So I got to switch colors here. There's so many. Look at where the delt is on this, right? Jim had it all bunched up, and whoever this is this Perez? I can't even read that. You know, they've done exactly what I was saying was, you know, shoved the shoulders out on either side there. You know, it's really extended. Jim had them like really bunched up in here and stuff, right? So whoever this was, they figured it out. They knew it, right? They're still, you know, they're kind of making a choice with the bicep and the forearm and stuff like that in the rotation here. And I think it's fine. It works because you're going to find what happens when you stick your hand like this. You can kind of like, even if the finger's locked, there's some rotational ability happening there. It's just a good rule of thumb that you want to try to track the center line of the bicep with the thumb in its natural position. Okay. There can be rotation and that can happen, especially like if she's pushing. So it's not the hugest critique or anything, right? But just keep that rule of thumb of tracking with the thumb, right? Okay. Oh, it was Carrie Gamel that did that original cover, and it's legit. And you know, you could see like this is what happens when we try to draw what we see without necessarily understanding what's underneath it, right? If I was looking at that Power Girl picture, this one, you know, you just start drawing it, right? But you don't realize that those delts, they're underneath that cape, right? That they're extended that way. And you could just see a little hint of them peeking out, right? So George is talking about the hips. Yeah, let's see if there's a difference in the hips. I wasn't really in love with how the original hips looked on this, right? Yeah, looking at this, I'm kind of like, okay, these hips, I was noticing how straight on they look. They look a little blocky and stuff like that. You could see how I did this center line down the middle here. It's actually this center line, now that I think of it, should kind of go like this. There's not much twist. Why don't I erase in here and get a better center line? We can use like that, right? That's not a huge twist. You know, like what do we got here? We've got this and this, right? Okay, let's see this one. If I'm going to do a bit of a draw over here. Oh, geez, the sizing changes up. I'm actually noticing there's a little bit of a twist there. No, you know what? Not as much of a twist as I would expect. He's got a little bit more curvature in the hips, and that's why it's giving that feeling, I think. You know, he doesn't have a lot of pelvic tilt or anything like that. There's a slight one, as in it's tilted this way just a little bit, you know, because we're seeing the instep there and the hip more and stuff like that, right? Whereas in I think Jim tried to do it, but his looks just super flat on, right? So it's not reading the same way. Oh, Katie, you're not seeing my lines very good? Yeah, I think what I got to do is when I set up a new image like this, what I'll do is I'll do this. Kind of back it out so we can see a lot better there. I did that in some of the earlier ones, and yeah, it makes more sense, right? So if I was redrawing this, even knowing that the original was kind of straight on, I think I would probably do something like, you know, here's the hips, maybe some stance, right? And then some twist, and then some angle like this, shoulders here, chevron here, that type of thing. You know, giving it more of a dynamic look to it and stuff, you know, like some twist and some push and some torque on the body and stuff, rather than this straight on look. That said, it's Power Girl, so maybe they chose it for a reason, as in she walked into it and it was super easy. And yeah, I like twists. I like that dynamic feel to it. Like even if I'm stepping through a curtain or something like that, if I walk straight through, it just looks kind of weird. I don't know. It looks kind of psychotic, kind of like my mustache today. But you know, you kind of move through it. You step through. You know, you're moving a curtain, and you kind of have at least some tilt to the side, right? And then you push it open, and there is that movement. You're still kind of moving through something. So, for me, I would have went with a tilt. You know, but I'm not going to critique a professional that did the cover or anything like that. That was their choice. Like I said, I'm mainly looking at anatomy, and the main thing that I see on Jim's is putting the shoulders out, right? Jim, thanks, man. I don't know how long I'll be able to keep this porn stash for. You know, I was born in the 70s, and so I thought I'd bring the 70s back, right? But my kid absolutely hates it, and me being single, I'm not thinking it's going to get me any hot dates. So we'll see. All right. I didn't see any other pictures being posted. So what I'm going to try to do is go to some of these other ones that were posted up. Yeah. I think I'm going to do this one first. So I'm going to do that same thing and lighten it up as Katie suggested, so that, you know, my drawovers will make a little bit more sense. Okay, so what am I seeing here? Well, let's see if I can point to a few issues that I'm seeing. Here, here, here. Those are the main issues that are bothering me right now. So what am I looking at? This issue I'm not loving because of how this forearm reads, and especially this elbow and stuff, right? This elbow here is reading as if the arm is cocked back a little bit, right? So I'm not sure if I can, yeah, I think we're seeing it. Yeah, good. So it's reading like you could see so much of this elbow that the arm is cocked back, right? Like we're seeing a lot of the tricep, we're seeing a lot of the elbow, maybe because of the rendering or whatever, but geez, is it ever defined, right? Like you could really see tons of it on there, right? And then you're seeing the forearm, and then you're seeing, this is where it comes in, that all of a sudden now we've got this, right? So what should be, like we're seeing so much of the knuckles here, it's kind of in this position or whatever. I know he wants to show the ring, right? But look at what happens for me to, for me to be able to show that, that elbow has to disappear, right? Like I've got a decent enough flexibility, but like for me to be able to, like he's flying in this position, and for me to really be able to show that, well, that elbow is starting to disappear. It's starting to be hung under the meat here. You really wouldn't see it. It would just be a little bit and stuff, right? So that's where things are getting really weird. Either he's broken the wrist in trying to really show the top and the ring and stuff, right? Or the elbow's misaligned here. So I would do one of two things. I would either kind of start to hide the elbow, do you know what I mean? And have this get bigger as it's coming towards, a little bit of foreshortening there, right? And yeah, or toss it back and have it punched up in the air or something like that, right? Like one of those two. It's either got to come forward to us or it's got to go away. But this middle ground where it's trying to dance in between, it's really not working for this guy at all, you know? Yeah. Next issue, and they're both around here. One is the easiest to look at. It's the size of the head, right? You know, like if I was to just grab this, and there we go. How cool is that, right? You know, all it took was a little bit of resizing, and that head all of a sudden made tons more sense, right? Like it's legit now. It looks reasonable, right? So the head was way oversized. I don't know if it's a stylistic choice. I'm not too sure. I think it was just a bit of a mistake, right? So that would be my first thing. Second thing I would do is look at the actual foundation of the head, because we've got our center line down the middle here, right? And we're seeing a lot on this side, but then we've got way too much jutting out on this side, right? Like maybe from the angle we're looking at it, this looks about right, you know, following our construction lines or something would be somewhere like this, right? Like it would, I could even shave a little bit off of there. It would be, you know, we really wouldn't see this much in this ear sticking out of this side. If I'm turned that much that you're seeing that, not just my ear, but like the back of my head a little bit here, right? Yeah, the 3/4 view. There is no way in hell you're going to see this other ear coming out this other side, right? And this jaw too. You know, you might have some Dolph Lundgren jaw or something like that, but that ain't going to happen, right? You might see a bit of my porn stash on this side. That side. There you go. But you ain't going to see that other ear for sure, right? So I think there was some construction problems that he had with the head. I think that's what was going on there and stuff, right? So if you look at my head, I'm turned to this side. You can see this ear, and you can see a fair bit of the skull, and actually he's angled down just a little bit. So it's not just a, you know, that 3/4. It's also got that downward angle a little bit, right? Look at how far away that ear is. It's not going to come. Look at the jaw. And I've got a decent jaw, but that ain't going to show either, right? So that was the problem with this piece, is that, like I said, the elbow and the arm here, he really had to decide which way this was going to angle, right? If it's going to come, because he's kind of leaning back in this pose, right? He's leaning back, And if it's coming forward, I actually like it going back. I actually would like be shoving it up in the air type of thing, having it thrust up with the ring visible, but then effects or whatever, right? He needs to decide, elbow or wrist. One of these have to tilt either way. And the head shrinking was the first point, right? His head was overblown. And then actually understanding the 3/4 view, the angle, and how you're not going to see all that other stuff that's just not going to be able to see, right? Let's see, any new comments from these guys? Mark is saying the concept is for him to fly up, twisting the hand and having it face up. Yeah, Mark just said exactly what I just said too. Face up, pounding up, and then the hand is thrusting into the air. That would have worked so much better, right? Anything else? No? Okay. Looking okay so far. Let's see. I got some more pieces here so I can go through them. Same dude. And so we're going to try this the same thing. A little bit of a draw over for him. And you know what? Chances are when we start... Oh, hold on. Oh, do I want to look at his arrow man? Oh, maybe I'll come back to that, Katie, and then see. I'm kind of already in this one. When we look at somebody and their style, then almost always they're going to make that same mistake, right? Or a lot of the same mistakes. And so what are we seeing here? Well, first glaring issue. Oh, why is it doing that? There we go. Blue. First glaring issue is here, right? I think we can all agree that head seems quite oversized, right? The other thing that is bugging me is how up and down the torso is, how small this is, and this is for something that's coming towards us, and how up and down everything is for the fact that he's stepping up. So when I step up, when anybody steps up, there's some movement, right? There's some movement in the hips and the torso and everything, right? So what would I do? Well, looking at the torso, I would probably give a slight movement to it, right? Have things moving this way, and like if I'm moving this way, then it doesn't even have to be that much of a movement. Then this shoulder starts to get a little bit bigger. This shoulder gets a little bit smaller, right? It comes down to here. This all gets that little bit bigger as it's moving towards us, right? And it can be angled just a little bit, right? We don't want, if our figures are walking, we don't want everything, straight on like this. This one's got to be bigger. Things are moving back and forth, right? So we want a little bit of that twist. We want, Proco was doing it with beanbags or something like that, I think, right? Anyways, the point is that you want to be able to have the twist a little bit in how it moves, how these pivot points move and stuff, right? Okay, so this is what I would have done, is have this coming back here, and then this can be smaller and stuff, right? Make this a little bit larger. It's coming forward. And the number one thing that I would always do with this dude, grab his head, shrink it down, and do something like that. Actually, maybe I would even bump it up just a little bit. There we go. Yeah. I think actually that looks better already. Soup's left arm. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, he's so stiff and robotic, right, Jim? Like, I'm looking at this and thinking, there's so many fixes that I would do to it, right? Like, there's some good things, and because like I like this arm coming here that's a little bit foreshortened. It's coming forward, but then this arm just drops down like a robot, and so I would kind of fix that, and that's why I thought if it's going away from us, larger to smaller, that might be the fix that we could use, right? Everybody's, everybody that's watching this is kind of saying the same thing. It's just way too stiff. Mark has got it right that it's got to be more dynamic, got to be flowy. You know, this is where I think a lot of people are get really twisted up, is that why not just look, you know, Google it and look and say, man walking upstairs or something like that, right? Man taking a step. And you can see like what happens. Well, you know, left leg, in this case, left leg is forward, right shoulder is forward. You know, this is how we step. We walk moving this way, right? And so this guy had everything straight with like this robotic step. It was almost action figure like, right? And so, you know, I love action figures, got a big collection and everything, right? But then you know, there's some problems with it. It can be so stiff if you really don't know what you're doing with it. And yeah, Jim's got it the right of it too. I kind of did it a little bit with my scribbles here, adding some more weight and size even. Like if I really come down into here, you know, where's the distance? Here's the thickness here. Here's the thickness here. You know, this leg is coming towards us, but this leg is thicker. There's a problem there, right? So, you know, add some thickness to this, you know, have something going on there, right? I think he over-rendered the musculature a little bit, but like, I would definitely make this leg bigger, you know, noticeably bigger. And then, you know, that would help something. Actually, maybe taper it as it comes back a little bit more. And remember, then we have our little draw over and stuff, right? So I think, oh geez, I wish I could remember this guy's name. Whoever he is, this nice artist. This isn't bashing him or anything like this. It's just showing that we constantly, you know, are creatures of habit, and we're going to make these same mistakes over and over again, right? You know, if you break down my work, I make a lot of the same mistakes, right? This guy, number one thing I would say, head size. Number two thing is when he's doing motions, actually bring everything into it. Twist the torso, bring the arms, and watch how a real person would move in that way, right? Okay, let's see. I just want to check messages because I know some people were sending me some stuff here, right? So George sent me a picture. Oh, I've seen George's stuff before. I love his stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to have a very much to say about George's stuff. I really usually enjoy it. So, yeah, like some of the stuff that's going to be sent in, maybe it just be one or two comments, and that's about it, right? Because like sometimes it's legit, it's good. Let's see. Okay, so we're looking at George's stuff here. And do I want to? Yeah, I'll probably do the same thing. Just so you guys can visually see it just a little bit better, right? Okay, so what do I like about this? The angle. I think the angle is boss, right? I'm not sure what's happening on the sword here. Like there's some clip to it, right? I think it's a little weird. Like, okay, so what's happening is, from my reading, is the shield is on the same plane as his arm. You know, it's back that far, right? I'm going to kind of use sizing. Whereas in this sword is coming towards us, right? Okay. Does that make sense, right? So I'm using some thicker line weight to show that this is supposed to be coming towards us. Okay. Couple problems in the original. That's not what is happening here. What is actually happening, if you can see, is thicker line weight on that shield and really thin line weight on this sword, that even at, like, it's casting a shadow, so maybe it's not coming that far forward towards us, but geez, you know, it's supposed to show that it's coming towards us, and there's a problem there, right? It doesn't really read that way, especially because he darkened up the line along this shield, right? This shield's got really dark lines. And I love how you do hands, man. I gotta say, I love, just, it reminds me of Joe Mad a little bit and stuff, right? Okay, so he's got a sword that I'm not loving the read on it. It should be thicker as it gets up here, right? If anything, he could punch it even more so, right? You know, like punch it even more. But the sword's got another problem. What the hell is he holding on to? He's like, okay, is this looks like a hilt, right? And it's pretty far away. Like look at how small that is, right? Um, and then he's holding on to the blade. I don't know. The hilt doesn't even have like, you know, a guard on it or anything like that, right? Like, so that's not there. So is this the guard? You know, is this the whole thing, the hilt, and this is just the blade? There's some things that are not really making sense for me on this sword, right? Like I'm kind of confused by it. You know, it's funny because I said I was going to do anatomy, but his anatomy, George's anatomy, is not bad. I'm kind of liking it. I might go through and just take a quick peek at it and stuff, right? But I'm really curious about how this sword works, right? You know, what's he holding on to? Yeah, I would look at the hilt, and then I would also look at the line work. Okay, anything for anatomy? Let me take a quick look. So what I normally do is I just kind of go through the structure. It's looking like here's a shoulder, here's a hand coming back to an elbow that would be there, coming up. Okay, so here's his other shoulder. Where's the elbow? Now let me erase my presumption here. Here's a shoulder, because here's the guard, the trap guard or whatever, right? And then we've got the torso that's running here, right? Somewhere in here is an elbow, but that would make that arm really, really short, right? And so that kind of makes me wonder what's happening here. You know, like, okay, this one drops down into the elbow and then comes forward here. So, you know, look at the length of this forearm, right? From here to here is the wrist. And that's far away from us. This one should be closer. And so if I would take this measurement, I'm just going to it would be from here to here. So that would mean his elbow would be out here. So it would have to be going back to that. Plus, how short is this upper arm, right? That would be my kind of worry with it, is like maybe it can come to here and then come out, but that's really not, you know, either way, he'd have the elbow peaking just a little bit if it's keeping in line with how long the forearm is on that side, right? Coming down to a knee, coming down to the ankles, foot. Yeah. I think the rest of the anatomy I don't have a problem with. You know, the hips all hidden, right? It's coming out. Actually, let me take a look. Yeah, I think the rest of it works. My major problem would be the elbow. I would really be curious about, if this is a shoulder and this is the hand, where the hell does that elbow fit, right? Okay, guys, this was supposed to start at 5 o'clock. It didn't end up going till almost about an hour ago. So I might have to call it a day. I've actually got to go for my shift in a little bit, unless there's something else that, hey, Rick. Oh, the weapon is a boar spear. Oh, maybe. Still, does that explain the lack of, oh, maybe. Yeah, okay. Well, that could be. I guess my problem then, Jim, is that like just the grip on it here is kind of lacking to me. I don't know. I think I'd rather. I think I'd take some pictures of myself with that spear and just see how the flesh wraps around it. Right? I don't think I got THC bottle. Right? See how how it wraps around, right? And just I don't know. It feels so flat, almost like he's pancaked something, and it just something's still bugging me. I guess I'd have to look at the reference and see what's going on. Oh, he's saying it's a it's a scabbard for the katana at the other end. Interesting. I'd love to see the references for it, George. I think you can kind of understand what I was saying, though. One, watch out for the line weight, the shield versus the sword that's supposed to be very close to us, right? And two, watch the grip, see how that feels and stuff. Three, watch out for the anatomy, the length of the forearm, how it all sit. If it's a small shield, cool. I'm all for small shields. He's brave. He doesn't need one, right? But then, where's the elbow at, right? The elbow would have to be peeking through. Okay. I think there's a lot of good things. Like at first glance, I was like, I don't really have much to say about this. And I still don't. I still think it's really legit. I just think that, not really happy. And maybe you're saying it too, George, not really happy with the grip and that sword, spear, halberd thing, right? But my main thing would be, if you're going to be consistent with how long this forearm is, you got to bring that consistency over to here, right? And if so, then we would see some of the elbow. Brian, what's up, brother? The silverback is in the house. Guys, I've got to go in about 5 or 10 minutes. So just so you know, this has already been, I don't know how long this has been going for. Do I get a timer on this thing? I don't think it shows anywhere. Rick, if you want to send me one right away, you can PM it to me. You can post it in the thread there if you want. I don't know if it doesn't seem to be letting people post it on there, right? So just send it to me in a message. Let's see. I'll just check my messages, make sure nobody sent me anything recent. Oh, Jim just sent me another one. Oh, this one looks all right. This might be good. Okay. This might be the last one, unless we'll see how long this one takes. Okay. Yeah, I thought people could post pictures up in the thread a little bit, but apparently that's not how Facebook works with this stuff, right? So, yeah, that's all right. I'll just let them message me and then go from there. Okay, so what do? I usually deconstruct first, right? I look for the hips, crotch line. I look for the chevron for the ribs, right? Here's this. I look for, where's the center line? It looks like the hips are a little bit off to the side here. So I'm looking like this, and then I'm looking something like this, right? And then we've got the shoulders here. Okay, and then we've got these boobs way up here, right? I'm actually going to leave the lower body alone for right now and just come up here and take a look at what's going on here. I think my major issue would be this shoulder. Usually if we look at the clavicle, and here you've got your center line for it, and then the collarbone going off of each side. Unless we start raising the arm and lifting things up, the delt will sit right below it and out, right? So what would happen is collarbone sits like this, the delt sits and goes off like that, right? And so if this arm was raised, then this raised shoulder, I'd be like, okay, kind of makes sense, right? But it's not. It's moving forward, but it's all hunched up. So you know what? I'm just going to kind of draw the head in just a little bit here. The neck coming down, right? We've got the neck here. The trap would be here and coming over this way. The trap would be here, but then all of a sudden it comes way up here. Like this whole area gets really weird, and it's hidden by hair, but it's a cheat, right? Like it's not making much sense there. Yeah, I'm not in love with that, man. I think that if anything, I would have dropped the delt down to about here, and then, have this brought forward and done that away and stuff, right? I think this is the major issue that caught my eye right away. She's got a face mask on. Cool. Oh, I can kind of see the reflection there and stuff, right? I think that's what's happening. But either way, like I said, this shoulder is what's killing me, Jim. I think that it's really bunching her up in an odd way that doesn't flow with the pose at all. If anything, you could even have, I would have angled this a little bit, have this shoulder back. Well, man, okay, she's just standing, right? So you could have done a bit of an angle, had this shoulder back and the hand come back while this hand come forward, right? Done it that, something like that. Like this hand could have been just tucked behind, right? So think about that. The other thing that I'm not in love with is the boobs. They seem really high and pushed up and out to the side. Like, I'm not going to explain my experience with boobs necessarily, all of my experience. Sorry. I don't know why, but legit, I've seen boobs, and if they're out to the side, it's usually out to the side and down, or if she's lying down, it's flopped to the side, might fall in an armpit. Who knows, right? But wearing a shirt like this, usually things start to, especially if there's that much support lifting her up. Like, here's the rib cage, the size that you're going for on these boobs. I would have said that they should be probably dropped down to somewhere there and maybe brought in towards the middle just a little bit, something like that, right? And then what you start to do, let's see if I can back out some of this stuff even more. What you would start to do is, you just hint at it, right? You hint maybe the fabric, and it comes up to where that natural shoulder is, right? The fabric would come around, and it could come up to where this shoulder is. The shoulder is coming back. Actually, I said even drop it down a little bit, right? So we can have the shoulder come back a little bit. And the fabric can stretch whatever fabric she's wearing here on this shirt, right? But dropping it down, I would even drop it down just a little bit more there. Already, I dropped it down how much, a centimeter here and stuff, right? And that's you could even drop it down more, like depending on the support that she's got and everything, right? So I think I might maybe make the neck just a little bit narrower. Yeah, that's how I would have done it. And I'm still not in love with this, but I would tweak it. She's ridiculously muscular right now. I'm over rendering right now and stuff, right? I wouldn't have it that way, but you can see how I would drop the boobs down, man. Jim, I think it works out okay. I just think that if you were to, I'm not loving how I did up here. I'm going to erase any evidence of that. Never existed. There, that looks legit. Does sleeveless help? Yeah, you know what? I don't know. Like, depends where the straps are at, right? Like the straps could be here or something like that. And then the flow, the directional flow of the fabric. I would have tossed a little bit more flow into it or something, something along those lines. Yeah. Something along those lines, right? Either way, your original boobs, too high, too bunched up. She's all like, she's all punched up this way and stuff. Drop them down, and it's starting to look a lot more natural. Same, and I went with the same size and the same easy circular startup and stuff like that. If she was wearing something underneath, they might push a little bit more in towards each other and stuff, right? But I think it looks kind of natural how I did it with the fabric here and stuff, right? Like, I think it's flowing decent and stuff, right? Okay. Just going to check to see if there's any other private messages, because I'm kind of running out of time. Oh, Rick sent a photo. Okay. Rick had mentioned it to me. How much time do I got? I got to finish this by 7 at least to get out of here. Right. I think I remember seeing this one. Yeah. Okay, let's see if I got time for this, Rick. Cool. Yeah, and guys, like, listen, this isn't going to be the most in-depth thing. You know, I'm kind of running out of time here. So, like, normally what I would like to do is read the responses and then kind of, you know, maybe do some adjustment for it and stuff, right? Okay, this one was sent in by Rick, right? I'm going to bring it over top, drop the opacity a little bit, and then do a bit of a draw over here. Okay. What do we see here? I think we're seeing a lot of good things. Like, I've seen Rick's work for a while now and stuff, and I've seen a lot of progress with it and stuff, right? So the structure, I think, is good, man. I think you've made a lot of gains, man. Like, a lot of artistic gains. I'm proud of you. I'm going to do the same thing I would do to all of them. Kind of, you know, look at the hips. Where are my hips? Somewhere here, right? Maybe something along these lines. Come in, draw the chevron. Here's my center line. Here's the center line here. Here's one shoulder. This shoulder is up. This is where it starts to get funky. What's going on there? Here's the elbow out to the wrist, out to the hand, right? Wrist, hand. From here, this leg comes down to here, down to, here's the ankle, and then heel, foot, right? Out to here, here's the knee, back to the ankle, heel, foot. Up to here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit and kind of do this face. And this is the line that he's got, right? So I'm going to carry these lines off to the side. Okay, so, you know, we're looking at this piece and we're thinking, a lot of the foundation is there, but something's off, right? Night, Jim. Thanks for hanging out, man. Where to start? First one might be here. I'm going to guess the elbow's here, but this gets really weird because this elbow, nothing on here is reading like it's pushing back at all and stuff like that. So I've got, you know, an upper arm that's this long and then a lower arm that's this long. And it doesn't at all adhere to the proportion on this side. Right. So if you're going to have, you know, if you're drawing a character like the Hulk or something that you can distort and play with a little bit, you can, you know, change the proportional limits of the limbs and stuff, right? But no, I think what was happening here was just a bit of a mistake, right? So yeah, I think that I might, sorry, I'm just looking at some messages here. I might revisit that part, you know, maybe just bump it here and then there. And that's all that would need to happen is this bicep comes to here and stuff, right? I'm really running out of time here, guys, looking at the time. The other thing that I really want to address is, and I'm going to drop this down, is this face. Usually, you know, here's the top, here's the bottom, halfway is the eyes, this, right? There's some things, though, that I think we're not loving with the face, right? So one thing is where the nose is starting here. I can't say I know why it's there. You know, if we're using a basic, you know, here's one eyebrow, here's another eyebrow, the musculature of it, here's this, right? Then the nose seems really short. You know, why is it so short and stuff, right? It just seems, and here's the middle of the mouth. What I would do is I would have dropped the nose down and maybe, you know, brought it up that way or something like that, right? Like, I think the nose could have came to here. And then, you know, now all of a sudden, then, okay, the eyes are starting here. I think the eyes are also oversized. I'm not sure, again, if it's a stylistic choice. This brow is over rendered right now or something, right? So I wouldn't worry about that. But yeah, I would maybe something along these lines. right? The nose was just way too short, and then the mouth was way too large. I think that, if I was looking along these lines, have the chin going this way. There's also some structural things that are going against this. Here's the ear. The ear should start up here, right? I would have maybe add more jaw. Sorry, guys. Sorry, I'm just looking at that time and I'm like, I gotta get out of here. Something along those lines. And then we can see how, the head can come around. And now we're seeing, okay, this is looking a little bit more familiar. The hairline can be here, right? Something along those. Ear comes down to the nose. See, look at this marker. Her nose was here. The eyes were here, and this ear was down here. So, there's so many things that were disjointed with this that it was confusing. The jaw is kind of here and then coming up and then coming this way and coming here, and the ear is this on this angle here, but the nose, you want to measure the ear basically from the eyebrow and the nose, right? The top of the ear to the bottom of the ear. And so, yeah, there was a lot of things that were kind of off there. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I'm totally running out of time here. Hopefully, Rick, that helped just a little bit with what was going on. There's more to do on the anatomy on this one. I'm totally out of time. Yeah, the lips, the mouth, there was a lot of issues with it and stuff like that. But it's 7 o'clock and this has been over an hour and I got to dash to my shift, right? So hope you enjoyed this. Hope you enjoyed the porn stash. And if you guys did dig it, then I'll do them again. I think once a week or twice a week or something like that. I think what I'll do is I'll make a thread where people can send stuff in, right? And then I'll grab it off of there. If people aren't able to post up in here, it's not really making much sense, right? So we'll either have people send them in the day ahead or something like that, and then go off of those submissions, right? It was cool hanging out, though. I wish, I'd rather... I don't know. I kind of wanted more chatting. I feel lonely doing this by myself. It's a weird feeling, right? Don't know. Okay, guys, it was awesome. Thanks for hanging out with me, and check you next time.